Welcome to each and every one of you. My name is Mpho Dagada, and I'm the president of Arise South Africa, and I'm coming in for our daily updates. Now, all of you know that we come through to share information about our great movement, Arise South Africa. We are officially 27 days away from the 2024 national and provincial elections in South Africa. This is a very crucial and important time for our nation, where each and every one of us are going to have the opportunity to decide what does our nation look like for the next 5 years. Does it look like corruption? Does it look like unfair opportunities? Does it look like people having to pay to get jobs? Does it look like people struggling to get basic healthcare and quality education? Or does it look like a change, something different from what we see? And it's very important that you prepare to exercise your vote come the 29th of May. Now, we have been uncovering the Arise South Africa Manifesto, and I know a lot of you have been tuning in, a lot of you have been sending in great feedback to say, President, we are excited about the manifesto. When we go out there and we tell people, they are reacting, they are excited about the Arise South Africa Manifesto. Now, we are closer than we were when we started this journey, and I need each and every one of us to be ready. Now, something very exciting is coming up. We are launching, or we are releasing, the Arise South Africa documentary. A documentary that's going to be showing from the beginning up until now what we've done, what we've achieved as Arise South Africa. So look out on the YouTube channel. We're going to release this documentary this week. I hope you're all excited to see the documentary. It's really going to be an emotional journey. It's going to be an exciting journey, and it's going to be an inspiring journey, because what we've achieved as Arise South Africa in a space of 1 year, I truly believe that it's been monumental. So thank you to all of you that have been part of the journey. Now, we are still uncovering our manifesto. If you don't have a copy, get a copy of your manifesto. We were able to uncover so many things in our manifesto, and today we are covering crime and corruption. How will Arise South Africa deal with crime and corruption? And if you have not had an opportunity to go through our manifesto, it's not a problem. The videos are there. We started off with the first lesson, which is the history of South Africa. That video is still available. We moved on to why it's important for young people to get involved. We then moved on to mineral resources and energy. We moved on to electricity and power, agriculture and land. And today we are on crime and corruption. How will Arise South Africa deal with crime and corruption? How will we deal with that? Now, the first thing we need to realize is that our country has got a violence problem. It's important when we are leading, it's important to be honest about where the country is and also what we're going to do to fix it. Now, the honest truth is that our country has a violence problem. We are a very violent nation, violent crimes, violent damage to property. And this leaves people feeling vulnerable and afraid and scared of being in South Africa because of the violence. Either they're getting robbed at gunpoint, they're seeing cash in transit heists, they're seeing violent crimes happening. A lot of people are afraid. They are seeing attempted murder, sexual assault, common assault, robbery, arson, malicious injury to property, hijackings, cash in transit, bank robberies. People are afraid of South Africa because of our crime. And it's important to understand that this does not only leave citizens despondent, but it also leaves investors and people that should be traveling to our country for tourism despondent. Now, that's why it's important for us to deal with this issue. Now, we have an exceptionally high rate of murder, gender-based violence, robbery, and violent conflict, as I've said to you. Now, the one thing that science has, and I'm going to jump straight to solutions, because I know sometimes we take long to talk about the solutions, but I don't want to dwell too much on the crime because we all know the issues of crime in our country. Let's discuss the solution. The one thing that can fix our crime, the one thing is surveillance. Surveillance. And I know that this is a topic that many people don't like. Some people say it makes them feel uncomfortable. People say we don't like being watched. But surveillance can fix our issue of crime in South Africa. And I want you to do me a favor right now. Share this video. Share this video, because I know that I usually go on at 7 o'clock. To date, I went on a bit earlier. So share it so that anybody can know that we are live. Let them know in your Arise South Africa WhatsApp groups. Let them know to say the president is live and we are going through the solutions that Arise South Africa will bring. Now, surveillance. It's a topic that some people say, but we don't want to be watched. Some people say we don't like surveillance, but it's important. Surveillance is the first thing. The issue that we've got in our country is that a lot of things go unwatched. A lot of crimes go unchecked because the surveillance is very low. What does surveillance mean? Surveillance has been proven to be effective at deterring criminal activities. Very important. It also allows people to feel a sense of security. The fact that there is a camera watching, it allows people to feel safe wherever they are. So it's important that we increase our surveillance. Now, South Africa is a country, we haven't had much surveillance. In many of the crime hotspots, there isn't surveillance. People usually privatize surveillance. And that's why it's important that this be one of the solutions to ensure that we deal with this. The second solution to deal with crime and corruption in our nation is local community, local security. Very important. The local community having their own security systems. Now, what the government tried to do by employing a whole lot of crime inspection wardens, that was done incorrectly. Because when they get these crime inspection wardens, there isn't a sense of community amongst them. And as a result, it's difficult for them to actually protect the communities they want to protect. So Arise South Africa will encourage that in communities, we identify young people together with the old that can work with the police to safeguard the community. Very important. Now, these young people will get stipends for safeguarding their communities. Remember, they are a part of that community. So in your rural area, you'll be a part of that community. And you'll have a job as a young person to safeguard the community. In the township that you stay in, you're a part of that community. You'll have a job. Instead of it just being called crime wardens and it's decentralized in a way that the community is not involved, it has been proven by science, by research, by actually conducting research that if policing is brought into the community, it deters crime. So that's very important. So we want to ensure that we bring back a sense of community policing. How do we do that? We do that by employing young people that are unemployed to protect the community. Now, we don't just do that recklessly. There's some important things that must be done to ensure that this can be done effectively. And if you are following with me, I want you to type in yes in the comment section. If you are happy with my pace, if I'm not going too fast, if you're understanding where I'm going, type in yes in the comment section. And if I'm going too fast, type in no so that I know to slow it down. So if you're happy with the pace, type in yes. If you think I'm going too fast, type in no. All right, I'm seeing the yeses. Okay. All right. I love hearing from you. So with our community policing that young people will be employed with. So you as a young person, after you graduate, after you finish your qualification, you won't just be sitting in your community unemployed. No, you will be paid by the government to ensure that you are able to stop crime in your community. But we're not just going to do it the way that it's just willy-nilly get anybody and give them a job. No, there's going to be a set structure to ensure that this is done properly. The first thing we'll prioritize is training and capacity building. In each community, there will be people that will be trained and their capacity will be built so that they're able to protect the community alongside the police force. Because many a time somebody will let you know to say when a crime happens, the police take hours to arrive. The police sometimes don't even come because they are overworked or because they don't have enough personnel or enough vehicles. But in a community, you realize that people get to know each other. People get to realize that communities are the best way to police. Remember, leaders, communities know the truth. Communities know when somebody's committing crime. Communities know who are the perpetrators. So when you allow communities to work alongside the police force and you pay young people stipends to assist in this process, what you do is you create employment for the young people and you also deter crime. Very important. The second one is collaboration with law enforcement. The community These crime community people that will get, they need to be collaborating with the police force to ensure that things work out. So in the community, those people have got information. They'll be able to let the police know to say, there's a young gentleman on this street. And this young gentleman, every time we see him, he's practicing how to shoot. And we're realizing that his gun is not a licensed firearm. And I'm immediately telling the police are able to act on that because the community informs the police about what's going on. So, collaboration with law enforcement. The third one, support and supervision. Now, we can't allow the community to police and ensure that they're safeguarding their people without us supporting them and supervising them. So, that's very important. That's the third thing we're doing there. Then, another thing that we're going to do is monitoring and evaluation. We need to monitor the communities and those young people that are involved in our communities to ensure that the crime is being deterred, to ensure that the crime is decreasing. If in a community we've got community policing people that are there and crime is continuing to increase, it means something is wrong. It means that they're doing something wrong. So there must be constant monitoring and evaluation. Another important thing, integration with the broader crime prevention strategies. As a country, we need campaigns and strategies to deal with crime prevention that will be unleashed as a nation so that everybody knows this is the current strategy that we are using to fight crime, and everybody is able to participate in those strategies. And the sixth one, sustainability. We need to ensure that there are key stakeholders like law enforcement agencies and local communities that are involved in this to ensure that these initiatives are sustainable. Remember, if you deal with crime in your nation, tourism increases, jobs increases, business confidence increases. Because remember, what does crime kill? Crime kills jobs. Crime kills tourism. Crime kills people's ambition. Crime kills businesses. So it's important that when we deal with it, we then strengthen our community. Are you learning something? Are you learning something? If you're learning something, I want you to put fire emojis in the comment section. If you are learning something, put fire emojis in the comment section. There we go, there we go, there we go. Now, very important for us to also note, very important for us to also note that in other countries, they've done studies as to what actually helps the crime situation. In the United Kingdom, there was a study that showed that equipping police with better tools significantly reduces the levels of crime. Equipping the police force with better tools in the United Kingdom, the study was done and says that it reduces crime. Now, let me explain. What is a tool? A tool can be a body camera, where a policeman has a body camera. Just by people knowing that policemen have a body camera, it reduces crime significantly. What is a better tool? A better tool can be the vehicle that they're using. A better tool can be the devices that they're using. So the better tools that we give our police force, the crime begins to decrease. Why? The study showed that human beings, when they see the police and they look at the tools that they've got, they then realize to say, if I commit that crime, they will catch me because of the tools they are using. But if there are no tools, then it does not deter crime. So it's important for us to ensure that our police force has got the right tools on them. Just by criminals seeing tools on the police force, they begin to step back and crime reduces in our nation. Now, in Canada, there was another study that showed that intense community policing had a positive effect on lowering instances of theft and robbery. Very important. When you involve the police in when you involve the community in policing engagements, you automatically reduce crime. Very important. Remember, every criminal comes from a community. And if the community is involved, the community can act and assist in ensuring that crime in our country is handled with the utmost care. Because remember, crime kills jobs. Very important. Now, we also have a lot of domestic violence cases in our country. And it's become important that we train our police to be able to deal with the sensitivity of domestic violent crimes, because domestic violent crimes cannot be treated like any other crime. There is a sensitivity part of it. There are some times where women feel that if they report it, they'll be kicked out of the house because the man owns the house or the man bought the house, and sometimes they don't speak because of that. There are children also involved. So there's a training that must ensure that this happens so that we deal with domestic violence with the utmost care. Another important thing that we must deal with is bribery. Bribery. Type in the comment section, cold drink, cold drink, cold drink. We must deal with cold drink. Now, it's very easy. When you have got policing systems, and the policing systems have better tools, for example, a body cam. A body cam is a tool that American police have, United Kingdom police have. It's just a camera on the body or on the badge of the policeman. And that body cam is able to detect what is going on with the police. That body cam is even able to detect when a policeman is trying to do something that constitutes bribery. That every time this policeman stops somebody at a traffic station or at a traffic roadblock, immediately after stopping the person, they go to the tire of the vehicle. Why are they going to the tire? Oh, because they're going to pick up the bribe from the tire. It's able to detect that movement, and it's able to give us a report to say, this policeman has got movements that are suspicious. And through that, we're able to detect the bribery and corruption that happens. Another important thing, putting surveillance at our police stations. There must be cameras at our police stations to ensure that there is no bribe, because many times people get to the police, and as soon as the person who reported the crime leaves, their docket goes missing, the information goes missing. All that happens because there is no what? There is no surveillance at the police station. Very important. So that's extremely important. Surveillance to ensure that there is no misconduct. Then another important thing, there was a study done where they looked at how do other countries get their police force to be so passionate about dealing with crime. And one of the things they uncovered is that in many of the countries, when you look at the police force, many of them have been trained over years to prepare to become a police officer. That you find that kids, when they're in grade 3, grade 4, grade 1, they already understand that when I grow up, I want to be a police officer. And they have, during career days at school, police officers that come and speak to them. And as a result, they're inspired, they learn more about the service, and they grow up with that clear vision. Remember, a vision is very important. They grow up with that clear vision and picture of one day when I'm older, I want to be a policeman. Now, what happens in South Africa? I told you that it's very sad in our country. People just wake up, they try and do this, they try and go to university, things don't work out, and immediately they say, you know what, I'm going to bribe my way to become a police officer. Then they pay a bribe, they become a police officer. If you had to pay a bribe to become a police officer, would you not be bribing your whole life because that's the way that you entered? And the reason this happens is because we've got policemen that are finding themselves being policemen as a last resort, and they're not actually passionate about it. Why? Because from a young age, they were not groomed. So what we're going to do is we're going to ensure that qualified senior officials, they visit educational centers, they visit schools, and they educate young people from infancy stage on the importance of being a policeman, on the importance of obeying authority, on the service and the importance of what the police mean to a nation. Because if you don't train them while they are young, when they are older, it's too late. So our police force must go to the schools. They must go out to the career days and train people. And you'll all notice that in career days, many of the times police people don't come. Detectives don't come. And imagine if they had to go out there and tell young people that, you know what, today I'm a police officer. I've been able to save lives. I've been able to stop people that were going to be killed. I've been able to stop crimes. I've been able to stop violence. And these young people are looking at our police officers like, this is how Superman is. This is what we need to be when we're older. And, we begin programs where we program the minds of young people to say, when you become a police officer, it's the highest office because you are guarding the nation. It's an important office. You need to take it seriously. You can't take bribes. We bring back the dignity and authority in being a police officer. Because what we see at the moment, right from the minister all the way down, we are noticing that is not pulling through in our nation, and it's important that we do so. Another important thing, exchange programs. Our police must have exchange programs that take them to the US, that take them to Canada, that take them to Europe, that take them to different places all around the world to study and find out how other countries are combating crime. Because when you are only surrounded by your fellow policemen, and the same thing, you're experiencing crime all the time, and there are no solutions or no better things happening. Sometimes it takes you leaving your country and getting a new mindset. And when you come back fired up with better solutions and better ways to implement things. These are very important. Another important thing that I want to talk about is allowing policemen to move from where they are. There are some areas, for example, you find that in some townships or rural areas, I've heard of this in the Cape Flats, where people are afraid of policemen because they believe that those policemen are going to harm them, or they'll be harmed by their fellow policemen or by somebody in the community if they actually stop or deter that crime. And what usually happens is criminals continue because they know that there's a gangster in this community and this gangster is going to be terrorizing them. So when you begin to move the police from the area they're into a different area where they don't know anything, you find that those police don't have those pre-ideas of what this criminal has done in that area, and they're able to act without fear in a better way. So exchange programs amongst the police force to ensure that they can work better. We're talking solutions here. And if you've got a solution, I want you to type it in the comment section. Type it in. Let people see the solutions. I see there's a lot of solutions. As we've got somebody on TikTok saying it's true. Africans who are living in South Africa so that they obey the law and respect the police. Yes, yes, yes. I love it. I love it. I love it. That's brilliant. Now, we don't only deal with the police force. We must also deal with the prisons. Our country spends over 400 rand on one prisoner per day. We must deal with the prisons. Our prisons must become rehabilitation centers. We must have rehabilitation initiatives to ensure that people that are in prison, when they come out of prison, they've actually learned important skills that will ensure that they rehabilitate back into the country. Now, I want to explain this. Every country must have a propaganda that they teach. You know, when I grew up asking people, or when I was growing up, I used to ask the question to say, when the offering basket is going around in church, or, in the different churches, I used to ask the question to say, why don't people steal that money? What stops them? And I was told that if you ever steal money from an offering basket, you will grow horns. And I was told that if you ever steal money from an offering basket, things will go so badly in your life. If you ever steal money from an offering basket, you are cursed forever. And as I grew up, I began to respect that. And I realized that everybody else as well does not steal money from an offering basket. Well, even a thief, by the way, a hard-time criminal, somebody who's murdered people, when he goes to church and the offering basket is moving, he won't take money from the offering basket. No, he'd rather go take money from somebody outside on the streets. Why? Because there's an indoctrination and a teaching that we've all been taught from young age to say you don't do this thing because there are repercussions. We need those same teachings in prison. That when somebody comes out of prison, their mind is metamorphosed. It's transformed by teaching them. We renew their mind from the mind of a prisoner, the mind of a rapist, the mind of a murderer. We renew their mind to somebody who's loving, to somebody who's caring, because these things are possible. These things are possible. Science has told us it's possible. We know through religious teachings that it's possible. It's possible to change the mind of a human being. So our prisons must ensure that they are truly correctional services. They must correct the mindset of the people. So that's very important there. And in Canada, they've proven to say that through educational and vocational training, they are able to reintegrate their prisoners into society and stop them from actually committing those crimes. So these are very important things that must be done. This is where courses now, we begin to create courses in prison to ensure that they're able to learn. Somebody said to me and said, Mpho, what if the prisoner doesn't want to learn? I said, there are easy ways to teach somebody to learn something, even if they don't want to learn it. A classic example can be you will get a dessert on a Sunday if you learn this module. The person is in prison. And they've done that, and they've found that people will work towards the reward. A small reward like jelly and custard in prison means a lot. And to say to somebody that you won't be getting the reward because you refuse to learn, you refuse to reprogram your mind, immediately you find that everybody in there would want to learn. You put incentives to ensure that they learn. So that's very important there. But not only recreation or not only renewing their mind, but also teaching them literacy, numeracy, job seeking skills, life skills, personal development, and working with others. Now, I've had arguments from people that say, but Mpho, why are we educating prisoners? And I like this question because we need to think about it properly. We have a big problem in this country. Majority of the people that leave prison go back to prison after a few months. They come out of prison, they look for jobs, things don't work out, they get angry, they have a stigma around them, they commit crime, they go back into prison. How do we stop our return rate that somebody will leave prison and never go back? You stop it by teaching them skills in prison. So when we teach prisoners skills, we're not doing it to help them. No, we're doing it to help ourselves in society so that somebody doesn't come and steal your vehicle. Somebody doesn't come and rob your business. Somebody doesn't come and rob or cash in transit bomb your place or your business. So it's important that we do this. Now, the goal of this is for positive behavioral change that will lead to them not going back to prison. Remember, the mind of a prisoner is something that has been studied, and people have studied how to change it and recreate it. We can implement those things. Can somebody just type in the comment section, "Arise, South Africa has the solutions"? Arise, South Africa has the solutions. I want you to type that out because many of the times people pretend like there are no solutions in this country, and solutions are there. And Arise, South Africa has the solutions. Now, let's continue. Now, another important thing that we need to do is we need to ensure that there is counseling and therapy that is offered in our prison. Now, somebody said that counseling can be very expensive, therapy can be very expensive. That's true. But it can also be cheap through digital transformation. If you've got a radio that plays in a prison, that plays therapy, for example, let me make an example. There are men today in South Africa that are in prison that have raped over 36 people. They put that person in prison, they lock him up, and that's it. There's no counseling, there's no therapy. The only way you can change that person or renew that person's mind is by counseling them in therapy. There are people that have committed crime because, I once asked somebody and I said, "Why were you in jail when they had a criminal record?" And they said to me, "My baby did not have nappies. They were wrapping my baby up with old clothing and it was chafing them, and the baby was newly born." And they said, "I thought to myself, it's better for me to go and rob a store and be able to provide for my child." So these are people that need counseling, that need therapy, that need to actually be taught things correctly. And that's why it's important to ensure that this is also a part of it. And I'm going to get to the big thing as well, but mental health is very important. Mental health, because much of our crime comes from the fact that in our schooling system and our educational system, there are no mental health. Sia says unemployed therapists can volunteer in prison. Brilliant. Not even volunteer. No, they should be paid to be able to do so. So in the days of Arise South Africa, if you are a therapist and you're not working, you will be paid to ensure that you're able to do so. So this is very, very important. Very, very important. Now, I want to also move to victims. There's one very bad thing about our country. Our country, and you'll realize that many manifestos, when they talk, it's like they talk as people that don't love the country. And as Arise South Africa, we have a heart and we love the country. For us, South Africa is not just any other country. No, this is a special country. And it's important that we treat it as so. So Arise South Africa will not only ensure that we rehabilitate the prisoners, but we also want to assist the victims. There are people in this country that struggle on a daily basis because they were raped, because somebody held them at gunpoint and they were robbed, because somebody came through and a violent crime happened. Those people have never received counseling. The young people that are unemployed counselors, young unemployed therapists, the young people can be trained on how to counsel people that are victims of crime. When you are a victim of a crime in South Africa, you report the crime, nothing happens. There is no counseling. And it's important that we don't just look and turn away. We want to ensure that our people are counseled. So people that have been victims of gender-based violence, people that have been victims of rape and abuse, people that have been victims where they've lost everything and had to start all over. So that's very, very important. These are solutions that will build our nation. And I want you to type that into the chat box. Type in, we are building our nation. We are building our nation. This is a real nation building with Arise South Africa. Very, very important there. Now, I also want to talk about how we can promote a worldwide ideology. An ideology. You know, let me speak about this. There are things that people call a cult. And the reason why they call it a cult is they sort of say these people have been brainwashed to the point where they no longer use their old way of thinking. They now use the cult way of thinking. We need to have an ideology in our country about crime and corruption. There's no ideology at the moment. If you listen to a young person, if you listen to an old person, if you listen to somebody and you ask them, what's South Africa's ideology against crime and corruption? It doesn't exist. Why? So it's important that we build that. I'll give you an example. If you go to Singapore, in Singapore, and you ask anybody about a crime ideology in Singapore, before you work in government, if you want to have a job in government in Singapore, let's say you want to be a minister, let's say you want to be a mayor, let's say you want to be a clerk or an admin person in government, on your first day of employment, they take you to prison and they go and show you to say, you see that prisoner over there? That person used to work for government. That person took a bribe. They are in prison today because they took a bribe. Imagine that's your day one. Your day one orientation in Singapore when you get a government job, you go to prison. And they show you to say, do you see that person over there? Go and talk to them. That person is in prison because they committed a crime. In government, they took a bribe, and immediately you find that everybody in Singapore is afraid of doing corruption. Why? Because they've all been to prison and they saw somebody who's exactly like them in prison, and that person in prison was saying, my brother, my sister, don't do crime. Because I am where I am because of regret, because I committed a crime. So an ideology in our nation must be built to ensure that that happens. Very, very important. It must be taught to our young people. We must talk about these topics. Very, very important. Now, another thing we can do in prison is we can begin to teach our country, our prisoners, about culture, about ethics, about initiatives such as social justice programs, about civic engagement campaigns. A lot of the times people commit crimes because they feel that they are alone in this world. They feel that their crime doesn't affect the next person or harm the next person. But when you begin to teach them about these things, they begin to change and ensure that they change for the better. Now, I know that today has been eye-opening for some of you. For some of you, it's been interesting. But I want you all to be aware of the fact that if we don't deal with the crime situation, jobs, growing the economy will always be an issue. Why? Because you can't keep talking about growing the economy when you still have something that is breaking down the economy, which is crime and corruption. That's very important. So these are the ideas that Arise South Africa will be creating to ensure that these things are solved when we're in government. And in all these solutions, there's so many jobs that I've mentioned. Because as Arise South Africa, we are serious about jobs. We are serious about fixing issues and creating jobs. So that's very, very important. Now, I want to talk about voting day, because tomorrow we're going to touch on manufacturing. You better be here tomorrow when we talk about manufacturing. We'll talk about manufacturing and tourism tomorrow. You better be here. Why? Because I'm going to be talking about industries that young people must be focusing on to begin building manufacturing hubs. The fuel cell industry, but we'll talk about it tomorrow. I want to talk about the day of election. Now, a lot of people don't know this. 2 days before elections, today, right now, we are 29 days away from the election, from the 29th of May. But 2 days before the election, you are allowed to vote. It's called a special vote. So if you're going to be traveling on election day, if you're going to be going away somewhere on holiday on election day, ensure you register for a special vote. It's very easy. You go on the IEC website and then you go under voters or under special vote. You put in your ID, you put in your number, and voila, you are able to vote 2 days before the election. So if you're pregnant, if you're maybe disabled or differently abled, or you're maybe somebody who's going to be traveling or you're not around, ensure that you register for a special vote. You just go online, you're able to do it. It's quick. It takes literally 30 seconds and you're done. So that's the first thing. The second thing, we need to plan for the day of elections. On the day of elections, as a leader of Arise South Africa, each and every one of you, you must be at the election voting station when they begin counting the votes. Very important. The vote counting starts at around 6 o'clock. So from 6 o'clock till 9 o'clock, until they are done counting the votes, you must be at the voting station. Why? You are protecting the votes. We know we live in a country where there's a lot of violence, a lot of corruption, a lot of crime. We don't want to leave our votes to chance. So on that day, if they ever thought that they're going to swap the votes or do something to change the votes or whatever, they must forget about it, because every single leader of Arise South Africa will be at the voting station 6 o'clock until 9 o'clock. Remember, the votes start counting at 9 o'clock. So you are there outside to ensure that if you see any commotion, if you see anything happening, your phone is out. You are ready to record it and report it. But most importantly, you stop it from happening. Why? We must protect this election with everything we have. It is a very crucial election. So that's the very important thing. So can we all agree to that? To say on the voting day, we are going to be at the voting stations between the times of 6 o'clock and 9 o'clock to ensure that no votes are going to be stolen. The third thing, is that we need you to join us to be a party agent. What is a party agent? There are 23,000 voting stations in our country. And right now, Arise South Africa is collecting people that are going to be party agents for Arise South Africa. So that means that you're going to be inside the voting station to see that everything is happening correctly and to also assist with counting the votes. It's very important. Where there are party agents, votes are protected. So ensure that you have signed up in your voting station. All we do from Arise South Africa is we give you a letter that gives you permission. But in your voting station, ensure that you are there and you are registered to ensure that we don't lose the votes on that day. Then remember, every day we are busy with our door to door. Now, somebody asked and said, President, you went live yesterday. I wasn't live yesterday because we had our National Executive Committee meeting in Arise South Africa, our NEC meeting. It happens every Monday. So I was in the NEC meeting. So when I'm not here, it means that I'm in a meeting of Arise South Africa. But when I am here, you know that we push and we ensure that we share as much information as we can on the upcoming election. A last thing that I want to mention, which is very important, don't allow people to confuse you about the upcoming elections. In the upcoming elections, Arise South Africa is there on all 9 ballot papers. So when you go out there and people are saying, but we heard this, we heard that, reinforce the fact that Arise South Africa is there on all 9 ballot papers, that each and every one of us are there. That's very, very important. And then lastly, leaders of Arise South Africa, our door to door. Every day we are going door to door and sharing these ideas and ensuring that Arise South Africa is known and our solutions are known. And I want to thank each and every one of you for coming in every day, because we're becoming wiser. Our brains are beginning to catch more and we are preparing ourselves for leadership, because every day we come in here and we share leadership ideas. Remember to share the video. Remember as well to ensure that every single day you are going out there and sharing the message of hope with the nation. Arise, South Africa, arise.